here we are.
I can't believe it. I mean, we talked about this about 8 months ago or so.
Yes, yes.
It's fantastic.
It's finally.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here with us.
Thank all of you for coming.
Just before we start officially, how was it to see you here back in the movies that brought obviously back some memories?
Absolutely. I mean, who was that little girl?
You tell me.
It's a long time ago, but that was pretty special to see that. I mean, I've been leading a different life now. 25 years, a wonderful marriage, and kids, and working on being a great mom and being a great wife, and that's been my role lately.
Perfect. We come to that part, but with your permission, I will go way back a couple of years earlier.
Okay.
You had a very busy childhood, working already in commercials. What I read something like 110 commercials from when you started with 5 years up to 12, and I just wanted to know to start with, can you tell us in your own words, how did that happen? Did your parents drag you from one audition to the other one, or was...
Yes, my brother was chosen as Baby of the Month and given a certificate to have an agent. And Mom was pregnant a couple more times, busy, and so I was the last child, and so my mom brought me to the agent, and I just had a picnic working, and a lot of catalog work back in the days, before the internet, when you would shop through a catalog. It was me, playing with all the dolls, so I was very busy doing that and doing a lot of commercials on television. And industrial films, the films that you would see in school, like one of the films was called Being a Bad Sport. Does that make sense in English? Okay.
Yeah.
And so it was the scene where, I'm like 5, and the brother has a little train set, and he decides to give me the controls to handle the train, and I muck it up, and there's a little argument, and that was how we were showing kids in elementary school about how to not be a bad sport. So it was films like that as a little kid.
And when did you start to discover the ice for yourself?
I was also skating a lot, starting about the same time, 5 years old, but I got more competitive around the age of 10 and kind of put acting behind me and started training about 7 hours a day, 2 hours before school, 5 after school, and competed year after year. And I did not get, well, you're probably going to ask, when did I get back into acting, right?
Some kind of.
So in my skating, in my competitive years, I was second in the country. Then I was injured and I was out for a year. And I never got back to the national level. And so I moved to California to start with a new coach. And then one day they were looking for a skater to play a part in a movie called Ice Castle.
That would have been my next question.
Yes.
You were on the right track, because you won the silver medal in '74.
Yes.
Yes. So I just wanted to start with that was in '77. You gave your career obviously another twist, starting acting in movies. How did you learn about that part in Ice Castle?
That was really lucky, because if I had not moved to California, I would not have had the coach who knew that Columbia Pictures was looking for this skater. I was lucky because I still looked like a competitive skater, because I just retired from competitive years the year before, and I didn't look like a show skater. Plus I had the Chicago twang accent, because that's where I was from. And so I fit the part. Another key element was when I was 10, I played the role of Helen Keller, who was blind, in the theater downtown Chicago. So all of those aspects, it was kind of, I was very lucky.
Wow. And you were also nominated, you always did well, because you were nominated for the Golden Globe New Star of the Year in a Motion Picture.
Yes.
That's quite a start.
Yes, that was exciting, yeah.
Wow.
And Bette Midler won that year.
Okay.
You remember her, right?
It was one of the critics who read from Roger Ebert, if you remember.
Yeah.
He said, was saying an appealing young woman who actually happened to be a good skater who can act. That's a nice description, I would say.
Yes. I mean, anytime a critic says that you can act, boy, that is a bonus. Because their goal is to critique, right? So that was good to hear.
Well, talking still about Ice Castle, I'm sure you're aware that in 2010 there was a remake of Ice Castle. Have you seen it?
I have not.
You're not?
I have not seen it.
Yes. I was wondering how it would feel to see that character you got famous in movies on the screen.
Yeah, I've not seen it.
Okay. So,
kind of busy with kids, and yeah, I talked to the director a long time, spent a day with him talking about it. He passed away recently. Yeah.
But a key element for all of us who are sitting here is certainly that apparently, that's what I want to know if it's true, that Cubby Broccoli will say that he liked your performance, he has seen you in the movie Ice Castles, and he called you apparently for a personal meeting. My question would say, how did it go and what do you remember from that time?
Well, that was one of the most unusual auditions ever. Cubby really liked Ice Castles, and coming from a competitive background, I did not know meeting Cubby Broccoli was a big deal. To me, it was just one more audition. In my competitive years, I was so busy training, I didn't see a whole lot of movies. I saw Goldfinger, and that was it. I knew James Bond and everything, but it wasn't like, you're going to meet Cubby Broccoli. But he didn't have sides from a script for me to read for him. It was just kind of like a meeting. It was totally different, than all the other auditions I've done. I've done some wild auditions with Dustin Hoffman where, he says, well, let's go down here, we're going to make a lunch and we're going to chat, and it would go on for hours, and then he would say, let's read this script, and I mean, every audition was totally different. Sometimes you go on an audition, it's totally cold, here's what you're going to do, and that's that. But Cubby was kind of like his name, just warm and wonderful and the nicest man in the business. And it's a crazy business.
When did you hear, in fact, that you got the part as Bibi Dahl for Years Only? And were you aware at that time what a huge impact that would have in your future?
Oh my gosh, if somebody said I would be here today, I had no idea. To me, it was just, great, I got the next gig, super, let's keep going. This is a pretty fun career, and that's all I thought.
Okay.
I had no idea.
Before we go further with Bond, before shooting for Years Only, you were also cast in the lead role of the, I believe, one and only Disney horror drama, The Watcher in the Woods, along with Bette Davis. Can you tell us a bit about your experience? You were shooting in Pinewood, and I think that was quite special.
Yes. So we were at Pinewood. This was the year before For Your Eyes Only. Oh my gosh, they were shooting Superman there at the same time, and so Christopher Reeve and I became pretty good friends, and one day he said, well, you can fly. Claire, we're going to do this little flying thing. And so he set me up flying. We had to do a little funky flying thing in Watcher in the Woods. But anyway, Christopher Reeve was extraordinary. But that is quite the historic studio. And then I was back there a year and a half later doing For Your Eyes Only. Pretty fun. But working with Bette Davis was fascinating. She was pretty quiet, but, you know, totally serious. I don't know if it was just, you know, she felt like she had done so much more than all of us, or that's just her serious way of working. But she did in press, it was in the London newspapers, she said that she enjoyed working with me because I you know, in this business, I put the same effort that I put into my competitive career. You know, you work hard, you don't play around, you're serious about it, and that's what she said. She could see that I was very straightforward, working hard, and not there to fool around. So it was pretty cool to work with her.
Nice. Just saw it last Sunday. It was pretty impressive, yeah.
Also, this movie, it was interesting. It was when Disney they were falling apart. Nothing was making money because nobody was going to see movies that were general audience, you know, rated G. And they wanted to come out with a movie that was going to, you know, put them back on top. They wanted, you know, close to an R movie. They wanted college kids to be going to the movies. That's where they thought the money was. And they had just released the movie The Black Hole, which was, you know, hopefully them leading into that feeling where college kids would go. And this was their next kind of, you know, sci-fi or horror movie. And but we had two producers on it. One of them was Walt Disney's son-in-law, and the other gentleman, I can't remember his name. Anyway, they argued over how scary to make this movie. And of course, the Disney son-in-law was saying, no, wait, this is still Disney, you can't do that. And so one of the scenes, which kind of was the telltale, this truck, well, I'm horseback riding, and the spook, the watcher, runs across the horse, scares the horse, and the horse starts to take off, and I'm screaming, right? Then it cuts away to a truck going over a bridge, and then it cuts back to me galloping, and you realize we're going to intersect, right? And when they shot the truck driver, he's eating a berry pie. The lorry driver, it was always the lorry driver, right? Yeah. He's eating a berry pie, and then he sees me galloping across, and he had to swerve by the bridge, and the lorry tumbles off the bridge into the creek below. And it was written that it was supposed to, the next shot, you know, you see me gallop away, the next shot was the lorry driver with coming up, you see like berry pie all over his face, and he'd be going, oh, you know, like that, like I just had a crash, but I'm okay, right? Because it's kind of, you snicker, oh, there's berry pie all over his face, right? And so the other producer said, no, we can't show that. You know, we're supposed to be scary for Disney. You know, we want college kids to see this. We can't have the lorry driver coming up with berry pie. So anyway, the Disney son-in-law won, and of course, then we're promoting the movie, and it was not, I mean, it was scary for, you know, kids younger than college, but they did not do a great job in making it a college age, you know, 20-year-old movie. So anyway, now they're doing great. I mean, if you have stock in Disney, holy cow, right?
And then you did another small movie called For Your Own Sake.
Then we got there.
Okay, finally. Living in Cortina, any particular memories? I know you were very active with skating, with skiing, also along with Sir Roger. I think today, it's safe, it's no spoiler anymore if we can ask you if he was skiing himself or it was just a setup.
Oh, Roger.
What do you want to tell us?
Well, certainly Roger could ski, but it was too risky, right? So sometimes he was kind of pulled along on a sled behind a snowmobile. But that's okay. It's not taking away from Roger. It's too risky for him to go down the hill, right? But, oh man, skiing with that crew was a blast. I mean, first of all, they all worked together on so many movies, right? So they know, it's like a puzzle, they know exactly how they all fit. And there's just great, when you're working on a movie that you're pretty sure is going to do well, there's a great joy every day showing up for work because everybody's really happy to be, on this project. And skiing with one of Roger's stunt doubles was Wolfgang Junginger, who has passed away. And skiing with him was a ball. It was, in Cortina and the Dolomites, and it was beautiful. There was, I did not work every day, certainly, like the previous movies, and so I had a lot of time off. At one point, we went to Canada for choreography for the skating scene in Cortina, and then we were back in Cortina, and they wanted to make sure I was able to ski well, so I had to practice. But I'd been skiing, since I was 5 or so. So every day they set my sister and I up with a very fine Italian ski instructor, and the three of us would go off, and it was lovely.
Feels like. Well, moving on, you're the only, that's now we're getting serious, the serious parts of the interview. You're the only Bond girl, if I'm not mistaken, who tried to seduce James Bond without any success. How does that make you feel?
It's like one of those things you go, oh yeah, that's me. Oh wait, no. No, that's a cool thing. Yeah. I have kids, right? So, yeah, I'm still a classy gal, right?
Now, I have that's probably the most serious question I've ever asked, but I have to ask that. I'm not sure if you have been asked that before. Later, after your not so successful attempt to seduce Roger, in the movie, he asked you to get your clothes on, and that he would offer you an ice cream. So, we have been thinking for years and years. Did you ever get that ice cream? And if, what flavor was it?
No, I never got that ice cream. No.
You're a chance tonight.
Oh, man. Yeah. No, Roger was the gem of all gems. I mean, I've worked with pretty neat people. I was married to George Clooney for a week. That was pretty neat. By the end of the week, we were both murdered in this television show. And George Clooney was swell. There was a scene where we got married, so we kissed. But, kissing Roger was the ultimate.
Okay with that?
Is that okay? It was long before I knew my dear husband.
But Roger was also quite known for his practical and sometimes also a bit freaky jokes.
Oh yeah.
Was he behaving around you, or
No.
do you remember anything particular, funny or special?
Yes.
For example? We're all grown up, so I think we can handle it.
No. Not enough glühwein today for me to tell you some of this stuff.
More glühwein, please. Hurry.
There was always the cup of water on top of the door, and you'd walk in the door, and the water would fall on you. He had such joy inside, and his charisma, and everybody loved working with him. And even John Glenn, it would take Roger a while to do the scripted line, right? Because he would always come up with something else, right? And John Glenn was so patient, and we'd shoot that, and everybody'd laugh, and it'd be great fun. And you never knew some of Roger's stuff would end up in the final picture. But then John always said, okay, Roger, let's do the scripted line, and then we'd shoot it the way it's written, and then we'd move on. But yeah, there was stuff, me in the bed, supposedly with no clothes, which was shot a couple days before Christmas. So my parents were there, and they came over to London to have Christmas with us. And Roger, camera's rolling, we're halfway through the scene, and he would say, well, I would, but your parents are standing here, And it was always some comment about that. And then there were other crazy things that happened, and, stunt people would throw in stuff under the blanket, and it was a wild time. It was like the polar opposite of working with Betty Davis.
And once the picture was completed, there was a world premiere, and I was wondering, you were there at the world premiere, what are your memories? Were there any special preparation, rules, or protocol to follow, and how did that go?
Oh yes. The protocol, they said, run to Harrods. You have to have white gloves because you cannot touch the skin of the royals. So my sister and I, running over there, that was pretty cool. I was taught how to curtsy, and I was totally prepared. And then, I'm standing there, Roger's there, Topol's there, and Prince Charles comes along, and I did my curtsy nicely, and you're supposed to only respond to them. You cannot initiate something. You can't say, how are you? You can't do that, right? So I was really good with Prince Charles, and then Lady Diana, about to be princess, they were engaged. I wish I had warned her. Anyway, so Lady Diana comes along, and it was like the two of us, our eyes, we're the same age, our eyes just kind of clicked, and I forgot all my protocol, and I grabbed her hand, I said, hi, how are you? It was just, it was like, all the special stuff, the proper stuff, they walked by, and so it was like, all right, hey, Diana, let's, do something later. It wasn't that bad. But that was, in our eyes, that's what it was like. So anyway, we giggled, and that was pretty special.
You still get invited to all the Bond premieres, I know about Spectre.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's like they say, it's like a huge family.
Oh, Barbara Broccoli has such a huge job with, her father handing this to her and Michael Wilson. And she is fantastic. I can email her and just saying practically nothing, hey, how are you? And instantly she'll respond, we're shooting, it's all going well, take care. She spoke to me after I had the stroke, and she always has time. She is the kindest gal with the weight of this production on her shoulders, her and Michael Wilson, and they're pulling it off. Fantastic.
But you did another few movies, but about approximately 2,000 movies. One of them like Angel Rivers, Sisterhood, Alien Predator. You quit acting in '96, if I'm not mistaken, to focus, to concentrate on your family. I learned from an interview we had recently with our friends from James Bond Radio, UK, that this decision was also partly taken because you didn't want to play for the roots in showbiz and for staying active in the showbiz. Can you tell us a bit more about this rule, what was expected from you?
Well, I kind of wanted like a normal real life, and I did not like Los Angeles anymore. So I wanted to find a wonderful husband that loved his work and had work to go to, as opposed to everybody trying to be something in LA. And as much as I grew up as a competitor, I was done with that competitive scene in LA because it's pretty ugly. It's just not. It's not nice. Some of that business, and I mean, I was in acting classes, and there were actors who were wonderful in that class, and they were not working. They did not have an agent, and I was the one working. And I just thought, this is a crazy business. You know, you don't always get your shot, as opposed to my competitive career. You got your shot in front of the judges. In sports, you know, in the acting business, there's so much luck, and I just kind of got a little discouraged in it, and I wanted to find normalcy, and I moved about 40 miles away from LA, and I never really retired. It was just it became distant, and that was okay. Yeah.
Okay, and moving forward after you quit acting, you already mentioned it before, saying you won many battles in your life, but the most important one was certainly on a personal level. Back in January 2010, you suffered a stroke on a plane, and you had a heart surgery. And I want to ask you if you can tell us in your own words, if you don't mind, what happened and how you had to start fighting your way back to real life again.
Yeah, I feel lucky every day to have gotten through this. So I was 51, you know, supposed to not be old, right? And flying across the country, and on the plane at some point, a stroke started. 3 clots went through a hole in my heart that I did not know I had a hole, and went to the middle cerebral artery and caused a blockage. And I was flying with my parents, and getting off the plane, my mom was ahead of us, and I was trying to help my father, who had pancreatic cancer, and I was holding on to my dad, and my dad thought I was just helping him. Really, I had no clue what was up or down, and I was holding on for dear life because I could barely walk. And in baggage claim, they said I was going in circles and not falling. Anyways, I was not right, and the next thing I know, my husband is carrying me into the hospital, and I don't even think he said anything, and they called code. I forgot what the code is, meaning a stroke victim walked in, and then everything goes wild in the hospital when a stroke victim is carried in. So we did not really know, how it's like every minute you're wondering, are these clots going to dissolve, or should we give her TPA, which is an injection that would dissolve the clots. The important part was, when did the stroke start? Nobody knew, because it was a long flight, and my mom was paying attention to my dad, and nobody saw me walking until we landed. So we did not know the time. So if TPA is given beyond 4.5 hours of the onset, it can cause an aneurysm. So that's pretty crucial. So they told my husband, we think it's too risky, we're just going to wait and see. talking about this, but I'm good. So anyway, by the next day, I was able to talk, but I did not have any of the right answers. I thought he was a boyfriend. We'd already been married 15 years or so. I thought it was 1964. I did not really know anything up from down, but days went by and I started to get myself back together. I was in therapy, cognitive therapy for a year to get my memory back. And sometimes I still don't know stuff. And sometimes I cry a lot because it kind of messes up your brain a little bit. But I'm good. I'm back, right? Kelly? Yeah.
Thank you for sharing this with us. We're going to change the subject.
Wait, let me just say, I had this, the crying and the laughing at the wrong time, that's one of the results of the stroke. It's like something that goes on in your brain when it just kind of messes things up. So anyway, I'm good.
Good. Now definitely back to more serious, subject. I just want to know, before I close up, I want to give time for the audience to ask some questions.
Sure.
But I would like to know, do you have any special regrets, a particular part that you would have played, also maybe in another Bond movie, or you're in general satisfied what you achieved?
Oh, I would play any part in a Bond movie. Yeah. No, would be a blast to work with those people again. But I'm so honored to have gotten this part. It's been extraordinary to still be talking about Roger and my experience, and to still catch up with the other people like Maud Adams and Gloria, and it's a dream role, and I had no idea at the time.
And your children, Karen and Jency, they never felt like following your footsteps into showbiz?
No, I didn't really push that at all, and it's safer. I mean, it's like buying a lottery ticket. It'd be the same thing. Driving to LA for an audition or driving to a drugstore to buy a lottery ticket. It's the same thing. Do you have lottery tickets here?
We do.
Yeah. So anyway, but my kids are great. You know, I want them to be smart. They're both in college. My daughter became a gymnast, so she's competing for the University of Alabama. Gutsy, athletic, crazy kid. She's had 3 surgeries, 6 surgeries total, 3 on each leg. Determined, just like I was in my competitive career. My son is working hard at school in business, and I think going in the direction of real estate. So, and he is one mad surfer. So. Yeah, we're doing great. Yep, and I don't have kids struggling in LA.
Okay, I want to give the chance for the audience if you want to ask some questions. Maybe I just pass the microphone around.
And you can't ask about the stroke. I won't start crying again.
Okay.
Do you still ice skate?
No. I ski a whole lot more. I skate maybe, 5 or 10 times in a year. We have a house in Idaho, and the ice rink is outside, which makes it very special. It's like being in Cortina. But last February, skiing there, and I was with another skater, and we were having a blast, you know, at the end of the session, I said, all right, let's go for a real cardiovascular workout. Let's just push it really hard, and that we did, chasing each other, and we were just laughing, having a ball, and I wiped out like a old lady, and broke my wrist, and ridiculous. Just nothing makes me feel my age more than that night. So anyway, that was my last day on the ice, but I'll get back.
So I know you're good friends with Johnny Marino.
Yes.
And can you tell us maybe an anecdote from, because you hung out with him and Charles Dance and your sister around the shooting.
Yes.
Maybe you can share an anecdote from...
Oh my gosh. He was a gem. Do you remember him in Fear Eyes Only? Yeah, Johnny was... do you remember his character name?
Luigi Flava.
Yeah. So my sister was with me during filming because Cubby thought a 19-year-old, maybe I was 20, let's say I was 20, that I needed a chaperone. So that was a 20-year-old and my sister, 22-year-old, in Italy, you know, a month in Italy and 2 months in London. That chaperone idea was not great. we had a ball together, and as I said before, I was not working every day, and neither was Johnny Marino, and neither was Charles Dance, and the four of us, we just ran around town and had a lot of moonlight. I don't think I had any, but my sister and also the stuntmen, we just had a great time. And Johnny, you just laugh all day with him. It's good memories, yeah.
Maybe you can say a bit more about the meeting with Cubby Broccoli. I would be interested if you just were happy when he said you have to roll, or did you also know what your role would be? Because you have a very special role and not a typical Bond girl. So
right.
Did you know anything at the moment, or you said, hey, I'm in the Bond movie, that's great anyway?
Yeah, well, we did not know what the role was, and I still didn't know what it was when I had the meeting with Cubby, because Ian Fleming did not write the character of Bibi Dahl. Michael Wilson wrote the character of Bibi Dahl. So that was created after I met Cubby. So that's why we didn't know what it was. It was just a meeting. And we met at his house, but it was like the south wing of his house, and it was just a room maybe this big with no furniture, and sort of like a butler brought me in, and it was like Cubby and I sitting at 2 chairs like this as the only furniture, and a little table just like this, and we just chatted, and that was it. It was very unusual.
Nice. So he was a fan of you, I think, when then the role was written for you.
Yeah, I was pretty lucky.
I know maybe it's boring, but can you tell us a little more about your relationship to Roger? Did you hang out with him as well, or was he too busy?
Yeah.
Is there anything you can tell us?
Roger, like I said, like the polar opposite of Betty Davis. You know, we would see Roger in the, right outside the dressing room in the hallway. He always had something to say, joking around. He told my sister and I, you can't call home very often. It's kind of expensive. And so we had a long chat about that, and chat about money, and chat about per diem. And then, he'd be playing backgammon, while we're shooting, with Cubby. The AD would say, Mr. Moore, we're ready for you. And he'd be like this, and Cubby'd say, and they'd, finish their... I mean, it was backgammon. They looked at it like it was chess, you know? Just roll the dice, take your turn, and we're making a movie here. But nobody cared. It was just, we'll wait for them. It's money flying, you know, every minute, money flying out the window. But it was okay because they know we're working on a great production and they kept everybody happy, especially keeping Roger happy.
You just mentioned it's a great production. How was the crew treated? Was it glamorous? Was it nice?
Well, working at Pinewood, they have afternoon tea, which is lovely. A lady walks in like she looks like she's out of the 60s, you know, with the white apron, the long black skirt, the little hoojiggy up here, and she's pushing the trolley, and she's serving tea, and everything stops because you're in England, and it's tea time. It's important to you people, isn't it? So the production stops. I mean, working on any other American movie I've done, that would never happen. I mean, you can't stop to get a water, and we would break for afternoon tea. Yeah. It might have been the budget. I've worked on movies, total different budget, right? I did this one movie in the Philippines where before I left for the Philippines, they asked me if I can bring a jar of mayonnaise because they were short and couldn't find mayonnaise in the Philippines. So between that and the budget of a Bond film where they can stop for afternoon tea, it's quite drastic.
I have another question.
Yes.
That's your original outfit?
Yes, that is that little blue dress I wore in Cortina.
And do you have any other mementos from the film?
That one. I was lucky to get that. They hold on to all of the wardrobe. But I have that, and I also have the lynx raincoat that Carol Bouquet wore. So do you know when they're walking around in Cortina and there's the motorcycle and I think she's buying flowers and the motorcycle crashes into the flower shop and Carol Bouquet is in a white coat with the lynx collar. So I have that. I can't remember how I got that, but I don't think Carol
That was going to be my
wanted
next
it.
question.
Yeah, I don't know how I ended up with that. Carol was, maybe she just didn't want it, I don't know. The girl in the flower shop, she was somebody's famous person's daughter. It's like a trivia question for all of you Bond people, right?
I know that you got an infamous ending, but we that's his.
I thought you won a competition to be in the film, and that was...
Oh, maybe.
That was a start for...
I think that was...
That's right. Because I don't think she has any lines.
No.
Because that would be a whole union thing if she had a line. But I think she just looks at Roger or something.
Yeah.
Right.
I think she won a contest to be in a Bond film, and that was the role that she was given.
Got it.
She had to look beautiful and be surprised.
Yeah.
But you just gave it away, and because I just wanted to say that Lynn-Holly was so kind to bring the dress all the way from your home, and I know I was bothering you for months. Blue dress, blue dress. And even 2 hours before you hit the airport, I got the blue dress.
It's packed.
So thanks for bringing that one here.
Yeah.
Just for you guys first. So it's a special treat just to have that with you. So I think we're gonna round it up.
Wait, I have one little tale. Did you see Bibi Dahl when they're in Corfu?
Yes.
That was not me. It was somebody else. So you see Bibi, like, it's a long shot, like a long hallway, and you see me just walk across the hallway down at the end. And that was shot in Corfu, and that was not me. So my sister and I did not get to go to Corfu. Yeah. But, all the interior stuff of the Corfu stuff, that was done at Pinewood. You know the story about the monks in the monastery and how they got angry? I don't really know the data on it, but they hung underwear where they were supposed to be shooting. Yeah, you might know the story better than me.
Well, some might know, yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to tell the story? Or? No, it was about just they were protesting. It was their way to protest and to block the shot.
Right.
Hanging up their underwear. Not sure about dirty or Okay, but before we go in the wrong direction, it's time for last question, but better be a good one. Anybody?
Good question. Yes.
Hello. How did you work with Julian Glover? How was he in the film with you?
Oh, yeah. Julian and Charles Dance and Johnny Marino and my sister and I in Cortina, that was great. Because we had small roles. We were there for a month. So that was pretty fun. And you know that fight scene where who is it that's thrown against the window, and he looks like a big giant guy, and he's not really. Who's that guy? See, this is when the stroke result.
John Wyman.
John Wyman, yes. He's not that tall. You know that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it appears in the movie they wanted somebody like Jaws, but John Wyman, and anyway, yeah, those guys were pretty wonderful to hang with.
So thank you very much for sharing all this with us. Lynn-Holly, please give a big applause. Big If it's okay for you, we can have about 50 minutes break, get fresh air, to go to smoke, whatever you need to do in those 50 minutes or 20, and then we start with food, finally. Okay. Is that okay for you? 15 Minuten, 20 Minuten Pause, wenn man raus muss, was rauchen und so. Geht's mit dem nächsten los. Dankeschön. Okay.